Yo, what up, though, gang? It's your boy Prince Rock back again with another reaction, man. You feel me? I'm gonna go ahead and react to the sports betting epidemic by Grant Rudo. I don't know if you know I'm saying his name right or not, but this is something that's I've also seen like affect a lot of people. I got a couple homies that be doing the little sports betting thing, bro, and man, they hooked. You know what I'm saying? Now, me personally, I don't like gambling with no bread, bro. You feel me? The only gambling I've ever done in my life was with my life. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Not here to judge nobody, but man, let's see what bro got to say. You know what I mean? Say about the situation, and man, go give him a like, follow, subscription, all that, man. Go show him some love, man, and let's dive in.
The worst thing to happen to America in recent history.
Damn.
It's October 13th, 2006, and President Bush just signed the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act. This piece of paper was supposed to be a preemptive strike, meant to halt the ancient vice of gambling before it could take over the digital world and stop a gold rush before it could even begin.
I did like a 10-leg parlay. If I hit this one for real, I'll be good.
That sounds like some bullshit. That sounds like some bullshit because I'm sure in 2006, casinos existed. And if I'm not mistaken, the federal government collects taxes from said casinos. So what's the difference between somebody doing it online or somebody pulling up to a casino and doing it? Hey, man, who knows? Let's find out.
23 years old, and I've been gambling on sports since I was 12. It has ruined every aspect of my life, shattered everything.
Yeah, note how I said supposed to, because the law had a fatal error. It banned most online gambling except for one carve-out, something that was deemed completely harmless at the time, the so-called skills-based fantasy betting.
The gateway drug.
Fill out your bracket.
Yeah.
Seems innocuous, seems harmless.
It's not gambling, but it's not gambling.
Right.
As you'll already know, based on the millions of ads that we're all swamped with today, that little loophole was exploited to its absolute fullest. Combined with several clever but ruthless business moves we'll get into shortly, this all paved the way for the behemoth we now know as modern sports betting. In 2024, Americans wagered nearly $148 billion on sports alone, which is more than any other form of gambling. It's bigger than casinos and even bigger than poker. And actually, it's even more than 3 times the combined annual revenue of the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL.
That's big money. I like gang. The reason why they passed it is because if you know anything about politics, that these people called lobbyists and special whatever PACs, whenever politicians are running for office, these are the people who put money behind them to help them get elected. And 9 times out of 10, they want their special interests pushed through. You know what I'm saying?
3 leagues people are betting on. Today, mega operators like FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, and Bet365 have honed their systems with psychological precision to the point where even a casual $5 bet with friends can quickly drag someone into a downward spiral of despair. The industry is bigger than ever and growing at an unprecedented pace. Because remember that $148 billion wagered in 2020.
I don't mean to pause the video so much, but I had seen a Joe Rogan interview, bro, and he was talking to some type of psychologist, and he was explaining the psychology behind gambling and why humans gamble, or why do people get addicted to gambling, right? And he said a lot of it goes back to that base primal need of survival, right? So like, let's say foraging, like if we lived hundreds of thousands or whatever, thousands of years ago, you know what I'm saying? We lived in caves, huts, whatever. Every day you wake up, your job was to find food. You know what I'm saying? Once you have shelter, it's to find food or whatever, right? So you would go out into the wilderness. You try to hunt deer. You try to hunt gazelles, antelopes, whatever. You know what I mean? Bunnies. You try to bring food back to the tribe. And that was always a gamble, right? So you go out. You might find some berries today. You go out, you might not find nothing tomorrow. You might not find nothing tomorrow. You go out some more, oh man, you ran into like a deer that was just killed by a mountain lion, a bear, a tiger, a lion, whatever, you know what I'm saying? man, village gets to eat this week. You know what I'm saying? Keep going, keep going, keep going. You might not have food the next week. So they understand that there's a base need for us to get those dopamine pleasures, if that makes sense, right? I don't know if I said that right, but I don't know the scientific terms. You know what I mean? Your boy is a hood Socrates. You know what I'm saying? I'm a hood philosopher, gang. So it ties into that need of finding sustenance, you know? And not only that, bro, most casinos understand these things. Like gambling is a science. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go to a casino, ain't no windows, man. Ain't no windows, ain't no clocks, ain't nothing to tell you how long you've been in there, none of that, you know what I'm saying? They pump like oxygen through the ventilation systems to keep you, you know what I mean, keep you going. They usually got drinks for the low, you know what I mean? Because they understand the longer they keep you there, the more they're going to pull out you, you know what I'm saying?
24 that I mentioned earlier, that was a 23% increase over the previous year.
Why now? Why this book right now?
I mean, I think we're at a point of what I would call a public health crisis, where young men in particular are losing more money than they can afford, or in worst cases, developing full-blown gambling addictions and thoughts of suicide.
Wait, why are you using Monday.com? It's not for developers. Oh.
And it's funny that the government said that.
So
again, I mean to cut it off. It's funny that the government said they don't support gambling, but have y'all ever heard of this crazy thing called the lottery? You know what I'm saying? Like the lottery exists. Isn't that gambling? You know what I'm saying? Like you try to buy this ticket, hopefully you can hit the $1 million jackpot, $100 million jackpot. Isn't that technically gambling? And don't they collect? I might be wrong, bro. I might be wrong, but sure sounds like gambling to me.
This chaos really kicked off with the 2006 Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act I mentioned earlier. The law cracked down on online gambling by making it a criminal offense for financial firms in the US to process payments to or from gambling and betting sites. In other words, it made running any online gambling operation nearly impossible, as they now couldn't move money through any banks. But there was, of course, one thing that slipped through the cracks. The law exempted, quote, participation in any fantasy or simulation sports game or educational game or contest, reasoning that, quote, all winning outcomes reflect the relative knowledge and skill of the participants.
What?
The distinction, banning games of chance while greenlighting skill of
All winning outcomes reflect the relative knowledge and skill of the participant. I mean, there are people who are like, I forgot what the word is, like a sharp. Like these are guys who like count cards. They pretty much study gambling and they can damn near, you know what I mean? Damn near make a lot of money off it. Now, there are very few people who could do that, but couldn't that be applied the same way? And technically speaking, betting on a game is a game of chance. You feel me? It's not necessarily statistics because you don't know what happens. You don't know if, you know what I mean? Anything can happen.
the participants. That distinction, banning games of chance while greenlighting fantasy games of skill, opened the door for everything that came next. To be fair to the lawmakers, they didn't have the benefit of hindsight that we have now. Back then, these fantasy games ran for an entire...
Big dog, it's not hindsight. It ain't hindsight. It's just called big bank take little bank, right? So those casinos, the big dogs that are in the gambling thing, they're looking at it like you trying to step on their block. You feel me? This is a tangent, but similar thing that's happening with marijuana legalization, right? Federal government understands marijuana doesn't have the same effects as alcohol or cigarettes or, you know what I mean, cigarettes or whatever, tobacco. They understand all these things. But why do they not allow it to be legal? Because you're standing in the way of those big cigarette companies, big liquor companies. These are billion-dollar companies that are going to lobby and say, nah, you stepping into my block. It's like you walking into a big, you trying to sell your dope on another man's block. They're going to cut you out, bro. You feel me? Every state where marijuana is legalized, the alcohol and tobacco consumption has gone down. You don't think this affects them and you don't think they're going to put money towards stopping this? Again, I might be wrong. I'm just a hood philosopher, gang, but I'm just rambling.
Season and were pretty casual. You'd set up a league with friends, draft your team, tweak your lineup each week, and winners would take home a modest prize. It was more of a fun game than anything else. But as with all good things, this didn't last long. As more and more companies spotted the opportunity in the loophole, the limits began stretching far beyond what any lawmaker could have expected. In 2009, FanDuel launched and they had a new idea. Scrap the season-long format, focus on game-by-game contests, and shift toward more public rather than private leagues. Fans could now duel other fans just as the name suggests. The new system worked like this. Users would pay an entry fee to join a contest for a single day or game, picking players they expected to perform best. Entry fees ranged from a couple dollars to hundreds of dollars, depending on the contest and the prize pool. Then 90% of the total collected from entry fees went to the prize pool, and the remaining 10%, well, the companies, of course, wanted their cut. The key here isn't just that the prizes were getting larger, but that the contests were now fast and repeatable. Join one, finish, join another, and repeat. By the mid-2010s, FanDuel and DraftKings' ambitions had grown, and they wanted to solidify their presence in the sports ecosystem. To do that, they took the following steps. They started by funding studies to see if their contests were in fact skills-based and fully legal, and surprise, surprise, the studies said yes. Then, by leveraging this cover and their now massive user base, they were able to partner directly with.
You could pay people to come out with whatever statistics and make those statistics confirm your bias.
Major sports leagues, DraftKings with MLB in 2013, FanDuel with the NBA in 2014, and several NFL teams with FanDuel in 2015, fully cementing these brands' place in the industry as the leagues themselves now had enough stake to root for their success. But even still, there was one piece of the puzzle remaining. While big as the industry had grown, it was still constrained by the UIGEA and the 1992 PASPA Act. Operators couldn't offer every type of game or market their apps freely. While they had pushed the limits, the law still kept a tight.
This is how you can lose the weight the way you want. Weight Loss by Hims offers access to a variety.
Man, get your ass in the gym, bro. You want to lose weight? Get your ass in the gym. Don't buy Hims. Get your ass in the gym.
Lock on what was actually possible. In the spring of 2018, the state of New Jersey, led by then Governor Chris Christie and later Phil Murphy, challenged PASPA. New Jersey argued that this prohibition violated the 10th Amendment by blocking states from making their own laws. And quite surprisingly to many, on May 14th, 2018, the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 in New Jersey's favor. PASPA was struck down, and sports betting officially became a state issue.
States and gaming companies can now legally allow betting on sports.
This was the moment. The floodgates had opened, and almost immediately, brands like FanDuel were acquired by even larger players with deeper pockets.
Exactly.
To expand from fantasy into
exactly. Big money. I like it.
full-blown sports betting. Nearly all of the brands shifted from just fantasy to now allowing users to bet on anything sports related. The next touchdown scored, who would be the first to score, halftime score, and all the micro events you can imagine. From there, legalization spread like wildfire as states tried to keep up and not lose out.
Bro, I saw a story where they said it was like during the Super Bowl, a guy bet that there would be a streaker at the Super Bowl, and bruh showed up and he was a streaker and he won the money. Let that sink in, bro. The nigga pretty much said, man, I bet he won like a 100,000, 200,000 or some shit like that. Just imagine that, bro. You're like, I bet $100,000 that somebody at the Super Bowl will run across naked and I will win $500,000 or $1 million, and then you turn around and you're the nigga running across butt ass naked because you know you about to win. Hey man, we living in a simulation, man.
On the extra tax revenue. Hundreds of millions of dollars were poured into aggressive advertising campaigns, nonstop promos, ruthless psychological tactics, and all with almost no oversight. By 2023, over 30 states had legalized sports betting, and that same year, the industry overtook traditional casinos in total bets wagered.
Zach.
So that's the story. But of course, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know we don't stop there. We always have to dig a little bit deeper. And right now, it's more timely than ever to do exactly that, because there's one detail here that just doesn't add up. If you paid close attention during the rise of sports betting I just walked through, you'll have noticed something. The hard part for these companies was just to get into the market and legalize it. Once the betting companies got their foot in the door, everything else seemed to just click into place. The growth seemed almost effortless and automatic whenever they entered a new state. But this is strange, and there
not strange. They were paying off the right people, gang.
has to be a reason behind it. You see, over the years, they've built and perfected a formula that drives their entire business operation. It's one that's built on the nature of the human brain and some clever financial tricks. Now, sure, a lot of this is simply built on the standard gambling format everybody knows. First, an opportunity to win. Second, an unpredictable reward. And finally, quick repeatability. But while this is true in some sense and definitely forms the core of their formula, much more has been added in recent years. And our beloved sports betting companies in particular have taken it several steps further. In fact, if you've been anywhere online these last few years, you've probably seen it.
Placing money lines in real time.
$200 instantly, just for betting $5.
To turn wins into bigger wins.
I put $1 million and up to 5 DraftKings sportsbook accounts.
The ads, the language, the hooks, free, bonus, risk-free, deposit 50, play with 500. The companies are aware that the original 3-step system isn't enough anymore. People are too cautious and they know the basic tricks. So as a result, the marketing and the overall operation sophistication had to evolve. Let's take a closer look at these so-called risk-free bets that so many now offer. The marketing for this one is highly persuasive and very successful at pulling in new users. And that's pretty understandable. After all, risk-free gambling sounds like heaven, right? It covers the biggest fear most people have, which is the risk itself. But
hey, in the street, you know what they call that? You feel me? They call that passing out testers. You feel me? So if you got that work on you, you feel me? You want new custos? You give out testers, man. Here's a half a gram. Here's a gram. Hit my line. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that little investment gonna get them hooked. They're gonna keep coming back, gang. Same concept.
sadly, as is often the case, it isn't nearly as great as it sounds. In fact, it's not even close. Sure, if you join through one of these campaigns, you'd likely get one round where you could bet, lose, and still get your money back. But the trick is, you wouldn't just get the money back ready for withdrawal. No. Instead, what happens is that you often receive it back in the form of a bonus credit. And if you want to turn this credit into real money again,
play.
Well,
you may think that an adult that can't stop watching the P Word looks something like this, but this is what they...
Hey, man, stop beating your meat.
then you need to have placed 5, 10, 15, or sometimes 20 more bets to withdraw. These clever tricks are a theme throughout the rest of the claims they make in their marketing, which all seem like a steal. Let me give you another example. Here's the classic deposit 50, play with 500 claim. You might actually get $450 in bonus credit to bet with, but it's not like you're signing up and instantly getting 10 times your money as you might think, because just like in the previous example, you often have to place 5, 10, 15, or even 20 bets before you can even think about withdrawing. This is what makes modern sports betting so successful. These claims attract swarms of users with huge guarantees and seemingly free money, but they're carefully designed so that you're more likely to lose most of the money in the process of trying to withdraw, or even see it vanish completely. Meaning the result is really just that you might walk away with nothing, or worse, a loss, while the betting company has successfully nudged you deeper into their funnel. A funnel designed to create a behavioral trap, and one that makes it far more likely that you will keep betting real money afterwards when the losses are 100% real. But these tricks don't stop at marketing and user acquisition. Once someone has been turned into a regular user, the betting companies then also take clear steps to make sure the odds are stacked against you, ensuring that on a broader level, they're the ones making the big money. To give you an understandable example of one of their favorite tricks to pull, let's look at this bet. Say you place a $110 bet on a 50-50 chance. You might expect to win double if you're right. After all, that would seem fair. But no, that's not often how it's done. Instead, they reduce the potential win from $110 profit to $100, taking out $10. This might not seem like a big deal, but in the bigger picture, it can have a substantial effect. By taking out that small difference, otherwise known as a $10 VIG, they drastically drastically reduce their overall exposure. And when you consider the scale of this happening across millions of bets, we're talking about hundreds of millions
of dollars,
billions of dollars saved on their end. And if someone eventually stumbles upon a win, maybe even a big one, even that isn't too dangerous for the house. Not only because of the previous example, but also because of the simple fact that when a user hits big, they get that infamous dopamine rush. And in that euphoric state, many bettors make the all too faithful decision to keep playing. While some may remain lucky, or in this case, exceptionally lucky, the odds are still very much stacked against them. Typically, if they keep going long enough, those winnings will eventually go back to
that reminds me of a joke that I read, bro. You feel me? I forgot, it was in a comment somewhere, and pretty much the dude was saying he was talking to his brother who was like a gambling addict, right? And he said, man, I hate gambling because I always lose. That's why I never gamble. And his brother said, good. The problem comes when you win. The problem ain't whenever you lose and you go, man, I don't like this. The problem comes in whenever you win. You're like, ooh, I could do that again, and I could do that again, and I could do that again. You know what I'm saying?
The house. And if they, against all odds, stay lucky, they're likely to talk about that win with their friends and family, which essentially turns them into an extremely effective organic marketing tool. The people this marketing tool brings in will likely make up for the difference of the losses. So if we take a step back for a second, we can clearly see that these sports betting companies have honed both their marketing and operations to perfection. They've fine-tuned every detail to get you in and keep you there, taking as much as possible in the process. They've also established themselves and seem to have cemented their place within the sports industry. They work the leagues, they work the clubs, and they work the players.
Think about if you could get all your homies rich by telling them, yo, bet $10,000 on my under, you know, this one game I'm gonna act like I got an injury. I'm gonna come out after 3 minutes, and they all get a little bag because you did it one game. Like, that is so not okay. But
Big dog, I know you did not go on this podcast and it just admitted to my boy fried, man. Hey, what they said after he left Denver, bruh, it's never been the same.
Some people probably think like that. They come from nothing and all their homies have nothing, but the whole sports gambling like entity, bro, it's bad, and it's only gonna get worse, bro. Like we really do get death threats.
Their tentacles have truly gone everywhere. And this is where I want to take a moment to look ahead, and I also invite you to consider what the current path might hold for us in the future. Last year, North Carolina and Vermont joined the list of states legalizing sports betting, and in 2025, several more, including Georgia, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Texas, have begun some process towards legalization. More markets and more lives, all open for the taking. We already know the damage gambling causes, and we know how powerful its system and influence are. That said, I'm all for the free market, and I'm not suggesting a total ban on gambling. After all, it's been around for forever in countless forms. In fact, the idea of gambling is as close to the human nature as procrastination, and no matter what we do, gambling will continue. However, with the way gambling is being integrated into our fast-paced and increasingly manipulative online world, something may need to be done. Since the 2018 court ruling we discussed earlier, regulation has been minimal at best. I fear that if action isn't taken, the financial and social consequences for our society, which have already been devastating, could be outright horrific. That's consequences for our society, which have
almost hit his kid.
Already been devastating.
That flew right past his son's head. It ain't never been that serious, big dog. And it's just common sense, bro. Everybody knows. How does the saying go? The house always wins. You think these people have $1 billion industry or business because they giving away money? Like you think they in the business of sports betting so they can lose money? You think motherfuckers open up casinos because they're losing money?
Could be outright horrific. That's my opinion, but I also want to hear what you think. Should something be done? Should a line be drawn in the stand? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, YouTube also thinks you might like this video. Let's see if they're right.
Yeah, listen. My stance on gambling is, if you gonna gamble, bro, gamble on something with substance, right? So gamble on starting a business. Gamble on learning a new skill. Gamble on, you know what I mean? Gamble on something where you have a better return on investment. putting your money in a casino, putting your money on sports betting, gang, you might win once or twice. But once they got you hooked, gang. You feel me? And that can destroy your whole life, because you might be going through depression, you might be going through a rough time in your life, and this thing is bringing you somewhat a little bit of joy. But once it crashes you out, you're done, bro, because then it brings in other addictions, you know what I'm saying? So be careful with it, man, you know what I'm saying? Me personally, gang, like I said, I used to gamble with my life, gang. And by that, I'm going to say, I was in the streets, so that's gambling with my life, you know what I mean? I will bet that I can flip this bread this way, that way, and to be honest with you, I lost a lot, bro, you know what I'm saying? You win some, but you lose a lot, so I don't know, bro. It's one of those where I say, don't get caught up in that loop, bro. You feel me? And if you are going to do the gambling thing, bro, understand never to go past your limit. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever go past your limit, no matter what's going on, bro. You feel me? I ain't going to make the video longer than it need to be, man. It's your boy, Prince Raw, man. I'm going to catch y'all in the next reaction.